Our next game, guys, the Chargers against the Raiders. Obviously, the Chargers were playing for better seeding after the Steelers lost, and Harbaugh had said that all week. We're playing a win. We're playing for the seeding. Herbert plays, obviously, a great game. 28-36, 346 yards, 2 touchdowns. He has the big rush, the big run, and then Ladd McConkey, Matthew, 95 yards receiving. He's been consistent. QJ, though, going nuclear was the story of this game.
I mean, right? So he finishes as a top 40 wide receiver in the season, wide receiver 37. It's worth noting 26% of his receiving yards on the season came in this one game. A 13 for 186 on 14 targets, a 40% target share from Justin Herbert. Yeah, QJ just went absolutely nuclear, but showed the kind of potential. I'm not saying I expect this moving forward, but it showed like this is the guy that was a first-round pick, and it showed that potential. I will have Ladd McConkey ranked higher than Quentin Johnston next year, but I don't mind drafting him as a late-round flyer next year.
Yeah, he looked like 2008 Larry Fitzgerald out there, just the way he's moving. And it's not like this performance was, a few deep balls that he caught. Like 14 targets, caught 13 of them. If he's gonna, we forget he was, pick 21 in the draft? He was a very high draft pick. He came in with a lot of pedigree, has the terrible year last year, but gets in the end zone a ton and showed, great promise yesterday. This could be a scary offense if he's going to play like this, and McConkey is what he is, and Herbert's, an MVP level type of quarterback. They're a dangerous team.
QJ was one of those guys that, obviously all sorts of physical tools, but I think one of the knocks on him was lack of consistency and focus, the drops. And so one of the things that Harbaugh's great at is coaching guys up, right? And getting them to believe, if they buy into the rah-rah Harbaugh stuff that he does. And I think if you're a young player like QJ is, that maybe you do. And so, I think that's a really good situation for him. There are other teams that may have moved on more quickly, but they've shown patience with him, and at least it paid off in Week 18 for sure.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs.
He came on our show at the Super Bowl last year, and seems just like a really solid person. And from what we could glean from 9 minutes of chatting to him, whatever. But good for him that he had that performance.
Yeah, he wasn't super solid because you didn't take a picture and cut me out half of it and posted it. Maybe after today's performance, maybe you should.
Yeah. Look back
the Redux interview at this year's Super Bowl.
I do believe I may have been sitting next to him, so there is a chance.
I'm sure you
I'll
were.
Scroll through the photos.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I think they kill the Texans. So we're gonna.
It's good night, Texans. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Texans have looked awful.
They've been sleepwalking into this postseason
for 6 weeks, and so we'll talk about all the playoffs and get you set for if you're playing DFS, if in playoff pools, if you're betting on it. We'll have a show on Thursdays. We get you set for all of Wild Card Weekend. We'll do that throughout the playoffs, where we'll do kind of a preview show. And by the way, if you want to play playoff fantasy football, you can do so at guillotineleagues.com. By the way, we're doing postseason
you own
NFL.
That company now,
I do own that company. It's a fantasy life company, and I own fantasy. I'm one of the owners of that.
So does RotoPat, by the way.
So does RotoPat. Absolutely owns it. RotoPat's crushing. But so does Josh Allen, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. They also own Fantasy Life and Guillotine Leagues. They're proud investors of the company.
On the other side of this one, big target share for Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. Jacoby 9-10, 123 and a touchdown. Brock Bowers finishes a phenomenal rookie season. He goes 4 catches, 50 yards and touchdown, assuming he's going to be the tight end 1 next year.
He is my tight end.
Good margin.
He is my tight end 1. I have him as a top 15 draft pick. I have him as kind of a mid-tier round 2 kind of pick next year as well. I think the more interesting story, Bowers is awesome, but we've sort of known he was awesome, right? And this isn't a surprise. He sets the rookie record for receptions this year. But how about Jacoby Myers, who very quietly finishes the season as wide receiver 20 on a points per game basis? Jacoby Myers is just one of those guys that, friend of the podcast, by the way, we had Jacoby on the show, but never gets any love. No one ever is excited to draft Jacoby Myers. I feel like he always drops in drafts because people are he had that one year where he could never score a touchdown, and he's been on, New England and Las Vegas, so never in
not a loud player.
Not a loud player, hasn't been on great teams, great NFL teams, and so, but yeah, Jacoby Myers had a 25% target share, at least a 25% target share in 10 of the final 12 games, and whether Antonio Pierce is back, whoever's new, he's going to be a weapon for the Raiders, obviously. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.